Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey everybody, we did it. We weren't sure if it was going to work. Let's get casual. Twin Steel in the house. Today on Casual Friday, we're talking new beginnings, new campaigns, new characters, new starter sets, and how to fix them. Hmm? But first, I'm Ryan Doyle. Jim is no longer with us, unfortunately, after the incident at the end of last week's episode. If you were there with us, you know things got pretty unhinged. The FCC reached out, contacted us. They've been really cracking down. I don't know if you're familiar with their work, but Jim has been the latest casualty, and we're gonna miss him. It's a shame. It's a shame. But we still got Brad. Brad, how you doing, man? What's up?
Doing good. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, same. All right, big announcements from our friends at Critical Role. I don't care if you don't like Critical Role. If you are playing D&D, what they're doing is going to be someone at your table cares and is going to be deeply influenced by it. So we got a trailer for campaign 4 and I'm pumped. I don't know. How are you feeling about this one? I'm getting excited.
I I'm excited for the fact that Critical Role is back because of what it means to the hobby. I'm not personally excited because I just don't have the time to watch Critical Role. But I like everything else they do. Like the D&D products that they've made, the TV show, the Vox Machina TV show. I'm excited for the next season of that, and then also the new show based on, I guess, season 2 of Critical Role. So I watch all of that stuff. So as long as Critical Role content is coming out, I am happy, because even though I don't consume the flagship show, if I can call it that, I consume a lot of a lot of their other products.
Yeah, respect. I mean, it is a major investment of time, and they know that they have been doing this like sort of recap. I forget what they call it, but they're doing a digest version, which makes it a lot easier to engage with. I do think watching like Vox Machina or the new Mighty Nine show that's upcoming is also a great way to consume a edited version of the content. I think what's most interesting potentially about campaign 4 in Araman is we're gonna see content. I mean, there's Exandria books on that shelf behind me. There's been subclasses and spells and feat, but Chris Perkins and Jeremy were not writing those books. Maybe they would, answer a text message once in a while or something, but like the people who made 5e for 10 years are now going to be working with Darrington Press to make Dungeons and Dragons 5e, point 5, 2024, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be a suite of character options, if not, there's a rule set involved with this campaign too that we don't know much about, but is coming. So there's going to be new D&D content that maybe you're going to be interested in using at your table, even if you don't want to watch the best in the biz cast some alley oops and dunks with each other.
Yeah, and if I was going to speculate, like what kind of content we might see from Darrington Press, like we could see, like how cool would it be to have Jeremy Crawford doing Critical Role themed subclasses, right? Like custom subclasses from the Critical Role characters or something like that, or Chris Perkins publishing a campaign setting for West March's style campaign, right? Because that's what Critical Role is doing, this kind of this hybrid West Marches like approach. What if you saw a book by Chris Perkins like telling you how to run a campaign that way and giving you a campaign setting that you can run in it. Like, it's just off the top of my head. Like, that would definitely be like playing to their strengths, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually very pumped to see, and people are quibbling about the definition of West Marches as they always have, because West Marches is a suite of features, I think, and yes, they're not doing all of them, but I'm excited that Critical Role is doing a West Marches style campaign because it's a different way to play D&D that maybe not a lot of people are familiar with or have tried and experienced, and it does open things up. I think a lot of people's current life situations are maybe more amenable to a West Marches style campaign than signing up for 4 hours every Thursday night for, the rest of their lives, conceivably. So I just like options. I like Critical Role showing people that there are other ways to play this game, especially since they've established that like long form campaigns are the gold standard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see when all that, when it all comes out, how they structure it with having two groups running in the same campaign setting. And then we might get some good ideas of how to do that. I've done that before, had more than one group running in a campaign setting. And occasionally overlapped with like one big session where everybody comes together to fight a dragon or something like that. And that it's a fun way to run a campaign, even though in my experience when I did it, it was a hell of a lot of work. If I was to do it again, I now know a bunch of shortcuts I would take. So it's kind of interesting to see how they're going to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm hesitant about the efficacy as far as an entertainment product goes. But if anyone's going to pull it off, it's these guys. Answered some questions in chat, which is moving as I click buttons. The show is coming out the first Thursday of October. I will probably be watching it the week after. I don't think I'll be catching much Critical Role live, but it's coming. It's starting very soon. The other news that we got from them that Critter Nation is freaking out about and reading tea leaves is we got characters. We know who's playing who. We don't know what they are, and I think we can hazard some guesses.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the guessing game, right? Like, this is kind of fun. Like, so this Laura Bailey is clearly, this looks like a fairy character of some kind, right? So and 5e had a fairy species. So are they? I'm assuming they're taking the 5e fairy and they're using it in the 5.5 rule set. That alone is like a little bit of homebrew, right? But then what class is she? What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm getting rogue just from. I mean, one, you give me Faye. She definitely stole that button that she may be using as a shield. But she's dual wielding what appear to be sewing needles, or at least inspired by sewing needles. So that would be my guess. So I will say there is a army of people on Reddit analyzing the whiteboards in the shots behind the promo trailer and stuff, and I did not participate in that. I did not do my homework. So some people may know answers to these that we do not, but that's what makes it a game. What do you think? What do you get from this one?
Just to be different, like Rogue was actually my first guess, but just to be different, I'm going to go Ranger, because that would also kind of like a Ranger would kind of fit a Fae themed character, like some Fae, like a Fae warrior who's come to the human realm to accomplish a task of some kind.
I like it, and it fits the color scheme too.
Right. Yep. That's what I was thinking.
I double clicked. Up next, we got Louise is playing Azun Nayar. Forgive me, everyone, for trying to pronounce made up sounds. I'm getting a little bit of like Kilt's vibe from his armor, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a little bit of lightning coming off of his hand, so like, like some sort of Tempest Domain or Tempest Domain cleric, maybe.
That's like a Thor's hammer kind of vibe. Yeah, I could see that. He could be. and it's on his. I think it's on his other hand too. It also like paladin, smitey kind of vibe. Perhaps
Right.
he is
Yep.
wearing a breastplate. He's got gauntlets. And I will say some people are like trying to suss out subclasses. I think the subclasses are actually going to be the thing we see. I don't know. Again, if we call it homebrew,
Right. Yeah.
when Chris and Jeremy are making the thing. Robbie, who everyone is psyched to see there all of the time. I'm just going to say it. If this isn't a ranger, I'm confused. The wolf's got a ghost paw thing happening, which is interesting.
Yeah. The wolf kind of reminds me. Did you ever see the Dragon Prince TV show? I watched that with a couple of my kids.
Oh boy, I'm not sure. I don't think so.
There was like an animated, like fantasy themed show, and it skews a little towards the younger audience, but it's it's a pretty good show. But there was a wolf in that show that was missing a leg, and had an illusionary leg, so that they wouldn't get treated poorly because they were disabled.
Maybe he also watched that show.
Yeah, so this seems like maybe inspired by that.
Interesting. Abria is giving orc. We got a skull on top of that walking stick.
Yeah, I'm like my first assumption here is like orc warlock, maybe orc sorcerer, but it could be orc druid, I guess too. Like,
I'm getting druid. I have this like predisposition to make orcs like shamanistic from my days, whatever, a decade plus ago playing World of Warcraft.
Right. Yep. I get that.
So yeah, could go either way there, but I like Abria as a player. Taliesin Jaffe, on the other hand.
I like how you specified Abria as a player.
I do. I mean, I like her DMing style to a degree, but I like Calamity. Knocked my socks off. It's still some of my favorite actual play content in existence. Taliesin is giving me the creeps.
Yeah. So this is. Are we going some sort of like creepy bard vibes here, or maybe this is warlock?
This could be warlock. He's got a rapier, which could be rogue. Could be like swashbuckly rogue. But yeah, could be bard. I really love Caduceus, who is the one character that Taliesin made in short form, in weeks, not months, and was essentially the dude, and was a fantastic character. I find the rest of his characters he tries to make interesting by withholding instead of giving information. So prediction, we're not going to find out for a year what's going on with the mask, what's under the mask, and maybe it's just my subjective preferences, but like I don't like when players do that. You know what's interesting about you? You're not telling the people at the table what's interesting about you. Cool. They're not going to keep asking. No one's going to try to drag your backstory out of you. So that's my 2 cents. What do you feel about Ashley's character here? Also masked, but I'm less angry about it and also less afraid of her.
I mean, I think that, like, with the censer thing, like, right, with the incense, or whatever this is coming out of, like, sage coming out of the this, like, if this is an incense burner, or whatever it is, could be cleric, right? Like maybe like a Twilight cleric, or some sort of like shadow magic sorcerer. Maybe even like a genie themed warlock, right? Again, like is that more of like a variation on the genie's lamp kind of thing? I don't know. I'm
cool.
spitballing a lot of ideas here.
I like it. Yeah, I'm getting like drow from her art here. And yeah, it's giving, I was raised Catholic. It's giving nun a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
went to Catholic
maybe
school,
like, Twilight cleric, death cleric. Yeah, it could be like a magic lamp situation too. That's interesting. Everybody's favorite dungeon master is now a player, and I'm just gonna say I think he's playing a human fighter, which I love. I don't know that for a fact, but I think Matt Mercer's rolling up with a human fighter.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. Like a swashbuckling human fighter. You could also this also could be like a swashbuckling rogue, right? Because it's not very heavily armored. But I'm assuming dex based because of the rapier, and just the posturing seems kind of, like there's a little bravado here with like come and get me kind of vibes, right? But yeah, I think this could be a really fun fighter. Like you play them more like role play them more like a rogue or a bard, but like combat wise, you're really just a dex based fighter.
And like that, I mean, weapon mastery has given marshals more options and choices and stuff, but a good battle master fighter is fun to play. And I really like someone who rolls up with a human fighter because it's like what's interesting about my character is who they are, not what they are.
Right.
So often it's like, oh, I'm this weird homebrew race, but in all situations and for all intents and purposes, I act just like a human anyway. So cool.
Yeah, I like
devil
the
lady.
I like the kind of I'm just a guy kind of character. I kind of one time did the opposite of what we just described, is like maybe Matt's playing a fighter who like role plays more like a rogue. I played a rogue that role played more like a fighter. I basically played Conan. I used a rogue to play Conan, so as a strength based rogue, role played him very much like a barbarian or a fighter, but in combat it was hit and run kind of tactics because like I was actually playing a rogue, right?
And I mean, depends which book we're talking about, but like Conan was sneaky too. He was not. Right. He's a barbarian, sure, but you can't pigeonhole that guy. He was doing magic stuff and petitioning gods, and yeah, he got around. He multi-classed. Whitney Moore, the person maybe I am the least familiar with, is also giving pre-nun to me. Definitely has like the cowl thing going on. Tiefling. What are the tea leaves telling you for class in this one?
Oh, this one's interesting. First of all, my first reaction is this looks like a Ginny D cosplay. Is what it looks like.
Yeah, it's right there. She's got the hair. She's got the color scheme. Yeah, the eyes. Yeah.
This reads very Ginny D to me. Like we don't see any weapons here, so I'm wondering, like, could this be a sorcerer? And if it is a sorcerer, like what kind of magic are we talking about? Like, is this a celestial sorcerer maybe? So like there is kind of that like religious vibe to it. That would be kind of my leaning.
Yeah, I'm here. Nacho is giving shopkeeper in chat. That feels right. This is giving NPC a little bit. And unfortunately, I think it is because like I don't see armor, I don't see a weapon. So my first assumption is like, oh, we're going to underestimate this character and she's going to drop a fireball or something. Like it could be a sorcerer sort of situation. So in this setting, as far as we know, the gods are gone. Humans have defeated or driven off the gods. Dark Sun confirmed. So what clerics are doing, how magic works, these are interesting things I am looking forward to seeing narratively and mechanically. How do you deal with a setting where there are no gods? Yes. Liam O'Brien, who took a back seat in campaign 3 to everybody's chagrin, is rolling up with I'm just going to say it, a heartthrob orc here.
Yeah, this looks like straight out of one of those like cozy fantasy novels, right? Like where like we're bridging the gap between like D&D and like a romantic comedy novel kind of stuff. this guy, like, he looks like he belongs on the cover of one of those books. So yeah, so this seems like a fun character to play. Like, so again, are we talking bard here, or like what's in the bag? Is he a wizard? Is he just a really charming wizard?
What's in the bag? Because it's giving Bard, just like the swagger, and like he just walked off the cover of Tusk Love. So like my eye was like, oh, that's a guitar, and it's like, no, that's not an instrument. There's just he's carrying like this leather satchel situation. Yeah, there's a tambourine in there. I don't know. I would be surprised if it's not a Bard. Um, the cut sleeves and the just swagger. I will also say we didn't really get into the narrative revealed in the trailer, but it's giving a little bit of One Piece. You and I, the first time we got together, I think, professionally, is this professional? I'm not sure, but we did a set of collaborations on how to start a campaign.
Oh yeah.
And the idea of yours that I was most impressed with and wrote down to steal was the funeral, right? Everybody has connections to this one NPC, and now they're dead. The premise here is that someone is in prison about to be executed, and that person shares the last name Fang with Liam's character. So are we talking brother or dad or husband or cousin or something? So Liam is right into the main storyline, it seems, with this character.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. That's a great plug though. Like those two videos that we did, if I remember right, we had 10 different ways to start a new campaign, and like 5 of them are on your channel, 5 of them are on mine. Yeah, since we're talking about new beginnings, those are two great videos to plug. They're older, but they still hold up.
Oh, there's some fantastic ideas. Like I want to rewatch them because I don't remember all 10 off the top of my head, but like I occasionally will like plant my flag on some stupid hill so the internet can yell at me. And I did spend like a year or two being like, you should start in a tavern. It's good. It's tradition. There's a reason why. People tell you it's bad. It's fine. Do it. And we've started many sessions in a tavern. But the premise of those two videos were like, yeah, but also do something else. And we did come up with 10. I came up with some good ones, I got to say, but I think funeral, hard to top. Good work there. I can't wait to. I don't know if I've used it yet. I haven't used it yet, but I am going to.
I might be starting a new game. I just started my new Thursday night game. I might actually be starting another new game, and if I do, I'm gonna go with the funeral idea. I just something just clicked.
Nice. Marisha Ray showing up with a bearded lady. Maybe my favorite circus trope. Taliesin can keep his clown. I love a good bearded lady. Do dwarfs have beards in the feminine? This one apparently does, and I love it.
Yeah. My assumption here is that she's a dwarf. We can't really gauge how tall she is to know for sure if she's a dwarf. So it could just be a curvaceous, short human. But my guess is dwarf, right? Again, no weapon though, right? So, but with the diamond pattern leggings and the cape, it does give bard vibes. But we've said bard for like 3 of these so far, and I doubt there's that many bards in the campaign. So it'd be interesting.
This is what happens when a bunch of theater kids get together to make characters. Is they all could be bards.
That's a great point.
Right. And I was thinking like bard, like College of Dance. Again, I think we're probably going to see a lot of, if not all, like unique subclasses to this world that they can then package and sell for us. But I thought that like that hat was giving me I don't even know what it's called, but kind of like a dancer kind of like fringe thing, but it's actually one. There's only 2 of them. It's not all around, and I think it's like a jeweler's lens, magnifying glass sort of thing. So maybe artificer or inquisitor or like
Hmm.
investigator. Like I don't know how to interpret that exactly.
Yeah, I had in my a Shadow Dark one shot. A friend of mine, she used the thief because like Shadow Dark doesn't have artificers, right? But she played a thief with a jeweler background.
Mm.
Um, so well, no, it was a thief with like an artificer background, and but her job was as like a jeweler. So like so she kind of she her backstory was that she would steal stuff and pretend she had made it as an artificer, basically.
I like that a
Uh,
lot.
um, but yeah, it was a fun character. And this character kind of gives similar vibes um, to that one. Not so much the like bearded lady combination, but the just that the monocle hanging off of the hat, that sort of thing.
Okay, lots of players, lots of characters. We only got three more. Sam, fan favorite. It's coming in a little vanilla, which is interesting. I think this is a cleric, because he's definitely got some sort of celestial. It's giving sun and moon on the staff. Again, in a world where the gods are gone, what does
Hmm.
cleric mean?
Right.
Again, dark sun confirmed. Uh, um, do you
Yeah.
have
Well,
an alternative for what's going on here?
yeah. I think this could also be like warlock or sorcerer. I think you could go that direction with this. Um, and the color scheme, maybe even like leaning less celestial and more like sea based,
Mm.
like the there's actually isn't there like a sea themed druid now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Circle of the waves, the surf. I forget off the top of my head, but it's. I mean, I want to run an underwater campaign one day. There's so much good stuff that's just like, well, yeah, this is not applicable to our campaign today, but like, yeah, please, give me an opportunity to make a Triton. Um, oops, all Trident
Yeah,
campaign.
I think that's what this is triggering. Is this looks like a character from the Disney's movie Atlantis?
Mm-hmm.
That's the vibe I'm getting from this. Yeah. So yeah, so it could be sorcerer, could be warlock, with like a sea theme to it, maybe it's or like we said originally, like celestial, like spiritual theme.
Yeah, I like it. I can see it. Alexander Ward has a kitsune. I don't know that it might be just a foxy looking cat. I don't know what's on their shoulder and below them to the left. There's a pair of pets. I don't know what's on their belt. I don't really know what's happening. There's a syringe. There's a book. So book means wizard, right?
Like so this one could be like alchemist artificer maybe or wizard with kind of an alchemy theme, right? With the
Mm.
syringe and the potion bottles there. But yeah, I know there's not an alchemist class, but like this says alchemist to me. Um and the whole two pets things, like I once did Beastmaster from the old
Mm.
80s movie. Um with using a ranger beastmasters for so the ranger's pet was the tiger, right? But beastmaster also had the ferrets and the hawk, right?
Hmm.
So I took find familiar for the hawk, and then reflavored mage hand for the ferrets.
Mm. I
And
don't
you
know
can
why,
do all
but
you do all that at like by third level easily, right? Because you can take the magic initiate feat, and that's going to give you mage hand and um, what you call it, the find familiar spell.
yeah, I love it. Just like, can my pet have a pet? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Alexander Ward is messing with cloning. I
Oh,
feel like
let's see.
maybe the little details. It's like they got the same like coloration perfectly. Maybe they're twins from the same litter, but like you're giving me weird science. I'm gonna say maybe you cloned these things, and that's how you have two familiars.
Yeah, I like that idea. We don't, do they don't always they don't usually start at first level, do they?
Find familiar? No. Well,
No,
oh,
I
you
mean
mean Critical Role? I don't.
roll.
I'm curious to see it. Campaign 2, they started at third level, having played through level 1 and 2 off camera, which is interesting. Um, campaign 1 starts in the middle. They're level whatever 12, I think, or something crazy, and they had been playing Pathfinder. So it doesn't count.
Right.
Campaign 3, did they start at 1? I'm trying to remember. Hey, Chad, help me out. Anybody know? Did they start at level 1? They start low, but it might be level 3. Um, I'm on record as saying I really like low level D&D play. Last but certainly not least, the CEO showing up with a lion boy. Travis is rocking a cat person. I'm not going to assume that we know what they're called in this world. A leonine.
Yeah.
This is given monk just because of the wrap, the
Yep.
wraps and the lack of armor and the. I don't
No
know if
weapon.
that's a no weapon, but that thing on his hip is maybe some sort of like throwing disc thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it opens up like the crawl thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I would. My first guess was Leo and Leoin. Is that how you pronounce it? Monk.
And a monk. You're also
Yeah.
it's given a monk. He's holding something like a talisman. Maybe it's a spell focus sort of situation. The thing about sorcerers is anyone could be a sorcerer. I could be a sorcerer. You wouldn't even know it. Uh, it's in your blood, and that's that.
Yeah. The thing is there's 2 adventuring parties, right? So we're not
3.
necessarily 3 adventuring parties. Okay, so we could have 3 different bards and 3 different clerics, right? So the fact that we've said cleric, sorcerer, and bard multiple times, that could be a thing. We might have 2 or 3 sorcerers, 2 or 3 clerics, 2 or 3 bards if we've got 3 different parties, right?
It's true. Oh yes, thank you. So, campaign 3 brought in several characters from an offshoot of EXU that Abria ran. So they were level 1 in that, but campaign 3 started at level 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's what do you like to start a campaign at? You're saying you're maybe starting another campaign. I know the feeling. I'm always about to start a campaign in the back of my head. Do you start at 1? Do you start at 3?
I do.
Where's
Yeah.
yeah.
I like first through third level. Those are my favorite levels. I like deadly campaigns. Like just last night I was running Shadow Dark, and the players almost died. Well, one player did die, and the party came very close to total party kill twice last night. And then in the previous session, same, right? So they're first and second level, right? And and I like that style of play. I like the gritty, like, oh my god, we're gonna get killed. I love it when the players, are like second round of combat, they're like, oh my god, we're gonna die, and somehow they like use their heads to, outsmart the bad guy or get away. I love that. So yeah, I like starting at first level.
Yeah, that's why we get along so well, I think. A man after my own heart. God, yeah, there's story without stakes is not very fun. And a combat where we know who's going to win, but we also can see it's going to take 90 minutes for us to get there. It's not that fun either, at least for me. So
yeah,
in
chat they mentioned Sunless Citadel. That's one of my favorite adventures. I've run that like 4 different times, I think. Nacho mentions the starter sets. Yeah, I love the starter sets. I love Sunless Citadel. I like the anthology books because you have the those low level adventures. And the low level in the anthology books, those low level adventures are, they're they're compartmentalized, right? So you can mix and match them. Like I've run Sunless Citadel and Fury Forge alongside Icespire Peak, like all in the same sandbox. That was super fun. So yeah, I like mixing. Like, I mean, Matt Colville talks about doing this, and he made this idea popular, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. But that's I grew up playing the way Matt Colville talks about playing, where you take 3 or 4 adventure modules, right? The short, low level adventures, and you smash them all together into a sandbox. Like, that's how I run games. I don't know what just happened to my lighting back there, but
it was kind of cool. I was into it. As an addendum to that, because Matt Colville's advice kind of boils down to, you want to run a sandbox, run D&D for 10, 15 years, build up a back catalog of things you have run, put them all on the table, let the players decide. In my most recent campaign, gave the players a choice, like put them in a starting town, gave them a couple directions, and then above table, like outside of game, it's like, all right, 2 paths laid before you. You can't do everything. I have a couple people who are very like completionist, I guess is the word. Just like video gaming, like, all right, I'm going to collect all the quests and then figure out the most efficient way to do it. Okay, I just put 5 years of content in front of you. Which way are we going here? This is a combat-focused campaign. This is a social campaign. This is like a mix in between. This is dark gothic horror. Spoilers, that's what we went with. Which one do you want to do? I have not prepped all 3, because that way madness lies. I am not ready to run all 3 of these campaigns start to finish tonight. You don't have to do that to drop something in your sandbox. You just need to know broad strokes. What's the vibe? You don't need to prep 20 levels of Dungeon of the Mad Mage to just like drop a well with that down there. Okay, cool. You guys go that way. We're going that way. I'm going to stop tonight and go do my homework for a week, and we'll come back and do that. New beginnings is the theme of today, and if you want to get on the ground floor of a brand new game, and like, I don't know, an epoch, an era of gaming, the first Tales from Elsewhere offering, Clockworld, has officially fully funded, I believe, as of last night. Peter, friend of the channels, hit the goal. We're now into stretch goal territory, which is very exciting. We hyped this up for a long time last episode, so if you want to see Jim's final episode, go back, watch that. Some real exciting stuff going on over in Clockworld. Brad, do you have any thoughts about Peter or Clockworld or Kickstarter in general?
I've been following Peter and his design working as he's been working on this game, and if you have any interest in learning about game design, go watch Peter's YouTube channel. He's got a catalog of videos where he discusses game design concepts, and he gives you examples, because as he's recording all those videos, he's building this game. So you can see him talk about like what he does and doesn't like about 5th edition and 4th edition D&D, and how he deals with those issues in his game design that went into this game. So you can learn a lot about game design and get a really good heads up about what this Clockworld game is going to look like. And yeah, I mean, if you like what he has to say and you see his design ideas, I mean, I'm excited. I think this game has potential to be what Dungeon World was, 15 years ago, right? You know how, like, I don't know how many people have actually played Dungeon World. It's like it was, but it spawned so many ideas and inspired so many new games that I think you have to you have to catalog it as part of the zeitgeist when you talk about game design over the last 20 years, right? We talk about what games are most important and informative over the last 20 to 30 years. Even though Dungeon World is not a hugely popular game, it has inspired a lot of games that became very popular, right? And I think whether Peter's game becomes, I mean, I hope it becomes super successful for him, because I think it is really good design. But even if it doesn't become like a mainstream, oh, I love this game, I think there's concepts in here that are going to inspire many games for years to come.
Absolutely. I mean, I think he's in a really good position. Like, I think it was smart to start with Clockworld because I mean, there's other like Weird West stuff out there, but like Cthulhu and Cowboys, man, like there's room, there's room for more of that in everybody's life, especially if you didn't know that was a fusion offering you could dabble in. But yeah, especially because he's a great designer and a great communicator, and he has this awareness of like making the choices and spelling out his reasoning for the choice. There's a lot of people who are like, this is good because I like it, so we're doing it this is the right way to do things. Mm-hmm. He has this broad understanding of what the other options might do and why you would go that way, and then prunes his decision tree down to get to the point where he's making a decision not because it's the thing that he likes and that's it, but because like he has thought it out loud in front of you and you've watched him do it. And yeah, I do think this might be the kind of game who, powered by the apocalypse, is in Daggerheart. I mean, we just talked about Critical Role for 20 minutes, half an hour. Like, you can draw a line from Dungeon World to, I mean, definitely to Blades in the Dark, and then to Daggerheart and a million other games. And like that DNA is in Into the Odd, which is influencing a ton of other games. It's interesting to trace like the genealogy of ideas. And there are some very well executed, unique ideas in Tales from Elsewhere that other people don't run with, they're missing out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, like Peter prunes that decision tree down with the goal of like creating the right feel. Like he's trying to create a specific feel to like action horror feel to this setting. So he like you said, he doesn't just pick game design mechanics that he likes. He intentionally builds mechanics and chooses mechanics that reinforce action horror, right? That's what he's going for, and the mechanics reinforce that with his like I don't remember if he calls it like a wound system or a condition system, but instead of hit points, he has this like damage tracking system that feels very visceral and scary, which reinforces the horror theme, right? So it's good game design from everything I've seen him discuss, and I'm excited to get my hands on the actual product.
It's pumped. I'm pumped. I think I'm in. Yeah, I am not logged into Kickstarter, but I am a backer. I'm also a customer. I've been in so many conversations. Like, I'm guilty of this myself. Like, I've been in so many conversations where it gets so abstract into like some ruling that the point of it all gets lost, right? It's like, okay, what would happen is usually like a good guiding light of like, okay, what's the most, we're having a conversation here, what's the most like realistic thing? But when you're talking about like snap to grid, right? Can I cast lightning bolt and get half of 2 squares in a line and double the efficacy? Or like, you just go so far down a rabbit hole that it's easy to forget that like, okay, what's the most fun and what fits the kind of story we are telling here. And yeah, Peter is never losing sight of that, and that is the heart of good game design that
Mhm.
sometimes can get lost with other people. Hey everybody, this is the internet, this is YouTube. There are buttons down there, and like, I hope you pushed them by now, right? If you're listening to the podcast, leave us a review. I guess those are super helpful. Give us 5 stars or 10 stars if that's available. Give us the most amount of stars, okay? Get hyped. That's a thing. Are we still doing that? YouTube does that now? I don't know. Push all the buttons. Tell your friends. Call your mother. She misses you.
Yeah, the wounds. Twin Seal just reminded me, it's a wound system, I think is what Peter calls it. And Twin Seal also mentions Nimble, which we got to play with Twin Seal. And he, Into the Odd, I didn't realize Into the Odd was an inspiration for Nimble, but now that you say that, that makes sense. So
I think like empowered by the odd, informed by the odd. I think they have a problem with branding, but Into the Odd did some innovative things that other people have picked up and run with. Knave. I'm afraid to like misspeak now with that all in front of me. But yes, Into the Odd has informed a lot of games. I would love to see some sort of genealogy. That still feels like the right word, even though I know it's not. But like the DNA cascading down into other systems.
I feel like genealogy is a fair word to describe it. You know who would be interesting to do that with? Like, I would love to pull Peter and Indestructible into a conversation, and I would grab the two of them and have a conversation about that genealogy of games and try to suss that out. That would be a really fun discussion to have, to draw that like kind of family tree of video games. I'm not video games, of role-playing games. Where do these mechanics come from? Who did it first, and how do they influence this? And kind of look at that kind of genealogy, if there's a better word to use than genealogy.
That's a good. And I bet that between the two of them, they could figure it out. Yeah, Taran's an interesting dude. He has like a very encyclopedic knowledge of like what people are working on right now. He seems very well connected, and he's a very busy dude. We've tried to connect a few times. He makes the rounds. He's in there. Yeah, we should form like a council of nerds to suss this all out.
Yes, Mr. Benson, get out the red string and corkboard, right? Like,
I'll go full Charlie Day on this. Let's go. All right, new beginnings. Let's start a new segment here. There's that moment, right, where everyone shows up or signs in or whatever it is, and you're bullshitting like, how was your week? What are we gonna order from the pizza place? Whatever. And then there's that moment where it's like, oh, okay, let's drill down. Let's play this game. Let's get immersed. And I am curious to hear how you, Brad, and also you watching this, do that. Like, what is your tactic, your ritual? How do you tackle that transition?
The transition of like going from like, hey, everybody's here, to let's get started.
Yes. How do you start a session?
So I don't think I got this from Matt Colville, but maybe I did. I literally used the phrase, when last we left our heroes, just because that harkens back to like the old like Flash Gordon serials or that sort of thing. I actually use that phrase, so my players know when I say that phrase, it's time to dial in, right? And usually I have a player who's really good at note. He's become good at note taking. He hates note taking, but somehow when Fred moved away, we still resent that, Fred. We hate that you left. Austin took over. Yep. Austin took over the note taking, and so I say when last we left our heroes, and I like describe the last scene, whatever the last scene was from last week, and then our note taker hops in and kind of provides some more details. Which we drink beer while we play, or bourbon. Last night it was bourbon, for example. So the note taking is kind of sarcastic and snarky, which is fun. So we have this like serious moment where I'm like, and last we left our heroes, right? And I describe a scene, and then we kind of have a little more levity with like the snarky, sarcastic, description from our note taker. And then I come back in, set the new scene based on what I just said previously about last week's last scene. So it kind of gives like a ebb and flow of, hey, everybody, let's get serious. We get goofy again with the notes, and then we dial it back in. So it kind of, we don't like, it's not like a hard switch, right? From goofing around to playing. It gives us a little bit of like that. All right, no, let's bring it in. No, really, now let's bring it in, right?
Because that's really smart to like build in room for that, like that bounce, right? There is like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There is a tendency to like recoil, right? Like someone, especially if you're like giving each other shit or just joking around, like someone's gonna get the zinger in while you're trying to set this dramatic scene. So like, yeah, leaving room for that is smart, opposed to fighting against it. You can't stop the yucks.
And for the record, I didn't like design that. It kind of happened organically over time, and now it works, so we've stuck with it, right? And so sometimes you have to kind of play around with different things. Back when I worked with kids, like doing group therapy, or that sort of thing, I would have music playing. Everybody comes in, everybody's chatting. So you have a certain volume level that's up here because everybody's talking over the music. And so, because typically, especially with kids, your reaction is their audio levels up here, and you try to rein everybody in by coming in louder than everybody and bringing them down, right? But instead, what I would do is I'd have music playing to intentionally get their volume level up, and then I would turn the music down, right? So everybody has that moment where they're talking up here, and they realize they don't need to be talking up here anymore, so they all quiet down, and then that's when I would say, let's get started.
I like that a lot. I mean, music is subconsciously affecting everybody, and like we're all just taller children. All of these strategies that you're applying to 12-year-olds or 7-year-olds, like most all of them are going to apply to adults as long as you frame it slightly differently. Like if you be good, you get a cookie. Like, all right, let's get through this so we can get to dessert. Just know your audience. It's the same thing. Be good. Yeah. I'm giving you the cookie. let's go.
I say that when I talk to parents about parenting, right? Parents are always like, but I don't want to bribe my kid to have good behavior. And my response to that is always, would you go to work if you didn't get paid? Right? So there's a balance there, right? No, you don't want to feel like you're bribing your kid to get good behavior out of them. But there is a certain like aspect of like the carrot goes further than the stick, right? So you want to be aware of like what are your players into? How do they respond to certain situations? Like I have players, who have like social anxiety, and so I have to be aware. Like sometimes I can't dial the tension up too much, or I might actually provoke somebody's anxiety. Right? That's just an awareness I have because of the players I have at the table. Right? So you can factor all that into your approach to how you motivate your players.
You are approaching our round table discussion here, which I appreciate the alley-oop. And this is something I think about a lot actually, and talk about pretty infrequently. I did a short set of videos like this, which some people really loved, but YouTube didn't. Um, but the health benefits of D&D, right? Like there's some people have gone way too far down this path and scared us all off from talking about it. But I do actually believe that playing D&D consistently is good for you. And you're like qualified to talk about that in a way that I'm just bullshitting when I say that, you know. So like,
Yeah,
is
I
that
mean,
true?
I absolutely believe it is, and I know there is some research. One thing just to clarify, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been doing therapy, and I've specialized not in couples therapy. I've also specialized in working with adolescents and trauma therapy. So I've done a lot in my career. Most of it very stressful work. So D&D for me was a great outlet, right? But I also see there's a lot of value, and I've run D&D for kids. So I've got a lot of like anecdotal evidence of experience I've had, like teaching children to play D&D and using D&D in the school setting. One thing to know about research is somebody has to pay for it. So that's why you see a lot of research done on things that governments or corporations are interested in, because governments and corporations have all the money. So there's not a lot of research on tabletop role-playing games, but there is some research on it, and that research does support this idea that it is there are health benefits, and it is healthy to play role-playing games. And you can just kind of logic it out, right? There's a couple of things that you can kind of factor into how role-playing games are beneficial. I guess really three. One is just it's a social game, right? You're making time to get together with people. I've had serious health issues in my past that led to depression, and there were definitely times where I did not feel like running a D&D game, but I did it anyway because it was scheduled and my players were relying on me to run the game. Inevitably, in every one of those cases where it's like, I really don't feel like it, I really want to cancel tonight, but I made myself do it anyway, I still had a great time. By the time I get to the table and everybody's around me, I'm feeding off of their energy, I get a second wind, and I'm having a blast. There's definitely an aspect of just making yourself be social that's good for you. Even when you don't feel like it, most of the time you get out there, you start interacting with your friends, you're going to feel better and you're going to enjoy yourself, even if you really didn't feel like it to begin with. So that's just number one.
And I think most of us relate to that if we're honest with ourselves. Like I've been there for sure. It's just like, I'd rather just do nothing. I'd rather just wallow in my unease and self-pity and not go run a D&D game and put on a show right now. And then I've never regretted bringing my friends together to have a good time. It reminds me of this Malcolm Gladwell did. I want to say it's Outliers. He basically writes the same book every few years, but it was like, why do these people in this one particular Italian village live longer? Why are there more Centurions here than in the neighboring villages? And it's like, oh, because these people like hang out. They go to the piazza and have an espresso and have a little conversation with each other, and like they have social connections, and people would care if they died, so they live longer. That controlling for everything else, that's it. They have social activity, and that literally extends their lifespan. So don't underestimate how blowing off steam for 3 hours is good for you.
Yeah. So just making yourself be social, right? And as Mike M points out in the chat, there doesn't, like, what little research there is out there, it doesn't appear to suggest that there's any downside at all to playing D&D. There's no health risks to playing D&D, at least not any more than any other hobby, right?
It's usually like control for this for the snacks. I find I eat worse. But,
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing D&D 6 times a week and you are eating Doritos and drinking Mountain Dew 6 times a week because you're playing D&D 6 times a week, that might be detrimental to your health because balance.
yes.
But yeah, like D&D itself doesn't have any health risks that I'm aware of. The other thing, like there's a whole lot of things that we know are good for you, and you can do those things in a myriad of different ways. But D&D tackles a lot of those things that are good for you. Like we talked about being social, the idea of like promoting self-regulation, right? It's a fantasy world. We've talked about verisimilitude all the time. There is an aspect of stress management that goes into a D&D game, right? We just talked about that, right? The DM can really ratchet up the tension in a scene. And if you're not careful, if you have a large group, that can actually provoke anxiety in some people, right? I've witnessed that at the table where like a couple of my players who have anxiety issues can actually kind of get a little overwhelmed if there's a large group of players and the tension gets really high and everybody's getting really loud. It has nothing to do with the game itself. It just has to do with the energy level in the room, right? So knowing that a scene in a game can have an emotional impact on you. We've also, I've had scenes where, well, like the Daggerheart, the Daggerheart short adventure we ran, I definitely felt strong emotions in that last episode.
Yeah, it got intense, very much so.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched that, watch that. That was some of what I felt was like some really good role playing. Like you and Mike, your characters really tugged on my heartstrings in that last episode, especially. So we know that a game can have emotional impact and even provoke a certain level of stress and anxiety. Like talked about running Shadowdark last night and getting really close to a total party kill twice in one session. So there is a certain amount of like practicing emotional regulation that is good for you, right? And you're doing it in a game setting where the emotions, they get dialed up, but they're still, if we're making up an imaginary scale here, your emotions could get dialed up to like a 3 or a 4, right? So like your stress is like at a 3, your emotions are at a 4, but you're still practicing self-regulation, right? Because even though you're in the moment and you're excited, you still have to like stop and do math. You have to stop and make a decision, right? So there's a certain amount of self-regulation that goes into a role-playing session, right? And then there's always the comic relief. Someone breaks the tension with a dirty joke or something like that. So my whole point in that is emotional self-regulation is a really good skill, and you can practice that in a low stakes way while you're playing D&D, right?
In part, like you have those chemicals in your brain. They just like this is my layman's understanding of some forms of anxiety. It's like there's a part of your brain that's built to worry about stuff. When I I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and it was just like walk north, don't die. I've never been better regulated in my life. Could be the endorphins, the total constant exercise, living outdoors, not worrying about stuff, even though I had plenty to worry about. But just like, okay, do I have my needs met? Yes. Or no, it's incredibly stressful. Oh my God, I almost stepped on a rattlesnake. Oh my God, I almost just fell off a waterfall, right? Like those things pump those chemicals through your brain and cycle them out. There's not this low level, like, oh, I don't know what I am, just like the generalized anxiety of it all. And it's Aristotle too. It's like that cathartic moment that you experience, this like dramatic feeling in a safe way that makes you better. Like we're wrestling with, death straight up, in some of these cases. We're dealing with the hardest things to deal with in a way that is safe, but also that if you're doing it right, you feel. Not to mention the health benefits of getting your heart rate up.
Yeah, well, and there's also in psychology, there's this idea of automatic. I can never pronounce this word. It's automaticity, I think is how you pronounce it. The idea that like you practice a skill until it becomes automatic, right? So like the sports is the most obvious example. You know, like you can scrimmage to get you better at basketball, right? But you also need to practice your free throws because free throws need to be an automatic skill, right? If you only shoot free throws during a scrimmage, you might shoot 1 or 2 free throws in a practice. So you want to scrimmage to kind of get the feel of the flow of game and running your offense and like practicing your defensive sets and all that sort of stuff. But then there's also like you need to hone in on specific skills. You know, with basketball, it's shooting free throws or shooting 3-pointers. Like you practice those over and over again until they can become as close to automatic as you can, right? So there's this idea of practicing behaviors in a macro sense, like that would be like the scrimmage, but also practicing behaviors in a microcosm, right? That's the rehearsing of specific skill over and over again. And I think D&D provides that kind of microcosm practice in a lot of ways, right? Like we talked about emotional self-regulation. There's also like development of desired character traits, right? So if I make a superhero version of myself, so I play a bard because I want to play a character who's confident and always knows what to do, right? I don't get to do that in real life all the time. And doing it in a role-playing game gives me a chance to act out that like power fantasy, right? And feel like a very confident, well-spoken person. And maybe even practice, actually role play, being that well-spoken person where the DM shines the spotlight on me and I have to act like a guy who knows what he's doing, right? There's value in like rehearsing confidence. There is research on that, like how to rehearse being confident, right? So that's another aspect of it too. And skill development is also a valuable aspect of your mental health, like developing certain social skills. And D&D allows you to do that in real life when you have to address actual interpersonal problems that come up at the table. Hey man, can you not interrupt me while I'm trying to roleplay my character? Hey, can we not, bring this problematic behavior to the table? Sometimes you have to address real world social problems, right? In your D&D group. But then, so there's like real life practice, but then there's also the role playing practice of these, social skills that we need to get good at. And like Mr. Vincent says in chat, fake it till you make it, right? D&D gives you the opportunity to fake it till you make it in a whole lot of different skills.
Yeah, and you're embodying those skills, like in a way that you don't get a ton of opportunities to elsewhere, unless whatever you're in the right theater troupe or something. And it's again, it's easy to see these things applied to kids, right? It's like teaching and practicing these soft skills, these interpersonal social skills. But again, I can't stress this enough. We're all just taller children. There's plenty of folks down at my friendly local neighborhood game shop that are deriving benefits from practicing these social skills that are well into adulthood.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to transition because we're running out of time. But yes,
just real quick to just comment on what Mike said in the chat. The idea of automaticity deals with reducing the cognitive load, and I will say the one area I experienced that the most and really felt a clear, distinct benefit from playing D&D is in job interviews.
Oh,
that going into a job interview with the kind of extra level of confidence you need to impress in the job interview. I definitely notice a distinct connection between role-playing characters in D&D games and putting on the confidence I need in a job interview. Like, I have felt a distinct connection of that, where like I can channel that fake confidence where I'm pretending to be an NPC or pretending to be a player character. And that reduces my cognitive load, where I'm not as worried about how I'm presenting. And then my cognitive load is focused on presenting my resume and my job skills in a clear and concise way, right? So that's one example, and it's the most powerful example I've experienced in my real life of like D&D skills translating to the real world, is, you know, me being confident in a job interview. The other area is like leading a business meeting or like a group therapy session, right? There's obviously a lot of overlap between being a DM and those real world experiences, right?
Most people, it's this old Seinfeld bit. Public speaking is huge and is a skill that if you develop gets you very far in life potentially. The number one fear, if you poll people, is public speaking, and number two is death. So at a funeral, more people would rather be in the casket than up giving the eulogy. So if you're the person on your team that is just more confident, you don't even have to be like perfectly confident, just like a little more comfortable getting up there and delivering your monologue in character, or running a session of D&D and having all eyes on you, like that comfort level is a huge asset in so many aspects of life. To answer Unshelled Pity, who did 700 miles of the AT last summer. Awesome. I'm jealous. I did not get as much hiking in as I would wish. I did most of the trail. I only hiked 1,800 miles. I skipped Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I intended to go back and finish them, but woo, was I done when I hit Maine. I didn't have anything left in the tank. All right, so new beginnings, building social skills, especially for kids, but honestly for anybody. Starter set seems like kind of the best tool for doing that. And I have the starter set in my hands now. Jim bequeathed his to me because, again, the FCC, we don't have to go revisit all that. And it's good. It is a good product. It's $50, which is a lot of money. Money ain't what it used to be. And there's a lot of stuff in that box that I think would facilitate getting new people who've never played D&D into it. It is not without its flaws. And Brad, I don't even know what he's going to say here, believes that he has fixed one of those fundamental flaws, that he has the solution to the starter set. And I'm dying to hear it. And I can't let this clock run out. So tell me, what do you got? What are we doing?
Well, real quick, you kind of set the stage for us. What do you think is the biggest flaw with the starter set? Because there's a lot of great things in this starter set. What do you think is the biggest flaw?
I think it's not for everybody, right? And including me, right? Like, there are things that I wish were in that box that are not. And most of that is a narrative through line, and interesting explanation. Surprise, surprise. It has some really good design principles. You have exploration, social, combat, more or less oversimplified, but the three parts of the adventure are the three pillars of play writ large. Cool. Exploration is the shortest, I think the least well baked. As I was just talking about, I'm a hiker. I think that D&D is bad at this aspect of play, and it's a huge missed opportunity, and 5e 2024 hasn't addressed it, hasn't fixed it. Putting it in its own pedestal here is a step in the right direction. I would have liked to see more. Otherwise, the main complaint, and I believe you're going to hear this echoed elsewhere as more and more people get their hands on this, it is very sandboxy, which I like, but there is not enough of a narrative through line. I would like to see more meaning and connective tissue. And I have theories about why it's not there, which we can get into, but that's I think what's wrong with this.
Yeah, and that's been the primary complaint. I think Sly Flourish had the same complaint, and a couple of other videos I watched about, and even an article I read online about like the reviewing this product is like there's a lot of things to like. This is like it's dense. It's totally worth its $50 price point because there's so much in there, and there's a lot of great tools to help you get started. But that seems to be the through line. Like everybody has kind of that same complaint. So my suggestion, like the easiest way in my head to create player buy-in and create some kind of narrative, right? Number one is the kind of guiding principle here is trust your players, right? We all have the instinct to make connections even when there are no connections, right? So trust the players to make connections for you. They're going to look for a through line, right? Because their brains are wired that way because they're human beings. And that's what we do as humans is look for connections. And I don't need to explain that because we all know there's a dozen of conspiracy theories out there on a daily basis of people trying to make up connections where there are none. So
on the flip side, that's why this book was designed to do that. Like our brains are built to do that. If I put enough dots in front of you, your brain can't help but make interesting lines between them. That's why we have constellations as well as conspiracy theories.
Right. People find patterns, right? So my suggestion is to ask your players 2 questions at session 0. What is a magic item that your character wants, right? Maybe the wizard wants a magic wand. And I'm not saying like nail it down to specific. I want the staff of the magi. Well, that's way too powerful for like third level. But do you want a magic staff? Do you want a magic cloak? Do you want a magic sword? Like, what is the like magic item that you would feel kind of completes your character? And then you take that magic item and you put it somewhere in the Caves of Chaos. Give it to one of the bad guys, right? So if there's a dwarf who really wants a magic battle axe, maybe the orc in the orc cave, because I think there's 2 orc caves. One of the
not in this one. Nope.
Not in the new one. There's only one.
There are zero orcs in the starter set.
Oh, okay. So they took out the orc caves from the original. Yeah, but give one of the bad guys the magic battle axe that the dwarf wants. Give one of the bad guys the magic staff that the wizard wants, so forth and so on. And then you as the DM, your job with that is to create a rumor or a plot hook that's going to point them in the direction of that magic item that they're looking for, right? So that's a pretty simple DM task that you could do. Ask the player what kind of magic item they would want for their character, and then you make up a plot hook to go with it that points them in that direction. The other one, I would ask player to make an NPC. Make a character that's a rival, an enemy, a family member, or some combination of those things, right? And then you put that NPC somewhere in the Caves of Chaos, right? My sister was kidnapped by goblins. My father's, chivalric armor was stolen by, a bugbear. I was conned in a poker game by a sneaky hobgoblin, right? So you make up a character that is either, somehow connected to the Caves of Chaos, right? So you're basically asking the players to come up with their own plot hook, and then you like I said with the magic item, you take and you create a plot hook to go with the magic item they've asked for. You create a secret or clue to go with the NPC that your player just made up. So my sister was kidnapped by goblins. Well, maybe there's a secret there that you make up as the DM. Maybe she wasn't actually kidnapped by the goblins. Maybe she paid the goblins to fake her death so that she could run off and join the chaos cult. Right? So now you just take it, you put a little spin on it, and somehow you connect it to the Caves of Chaos, right? And I would recommend, because we have 3 levels of play, I would recommend that you put the magic item like at the end of one of the first level dungeons, first level caves, or at the beginning of one of the second level caves. That way they're getting that magic item fairly early on. And then you put the NPC at the end of either a second level cave or the end of a third level cave, right? So those would be the two things I would do. And that it's not a strong narrative, right? But you've created a narrative for each player. And like I said, players are going to connect the dots. So they might actually make up an even stronger narrative as they start putting your secrets and clues together and finding out about the NPCs they created.
Yes. And if I were to run this, especially for new players, right? Like this box is built to get people into D&D. I think that is the main objective, and that's how I want everyone to go out and use it. Spread the word. Get new people to have a great time and be interested in picking up a giant book and maybe opening the cover and doing more to get into D&D. I think that the reason you don't have these through lines is because everything is very modular, is because built into this starter set is a very interesting premise, and I don't know how successful it's going to be, but I have high hopes, and it's the idea that this is designed for, again, something that can fall into the West Marches style umbrella of play, which again means a bunch of different things, and I would love to argue about all of them later. The idea that you can have multiple dungeon masters, right? Which I, as an introduction to D&D, being like, oh, okay, cool. We're switching from the keep to the wilderness, and to answer chat, no, the Caves of the Unknown is not there, but you could easily, there's a lot of potential things you could drop in to spice up the wilderness. But I run the keep, you run the wilderness. And then when we get to the caves, all of the caves, there's some interconnections, not as much as there once was. And honestly, part of this narrative through line, remember that first version of this that you love so fondly? Yeah, this is a lot more narrative meat on the bones than the original. The NPCs have names in this one, and desires and rumors, right? So it's a lot more developed than B2 was. I think the reason there isn't more is because they want all these things to stand alone in a way that I can run the Kobold Cave and not spoil the Goblin Cave for myself in case you're going to run them. Is that the best way to run D&D? Probably not. Is that a great habit to build into a starter set so that there isn't this assumption that someone is the DM forever for the rest of their life, and
right.
they, in a decade of running a very successful show, get to be a player eventually? Like, no, you're running tomorrow. I'm running, or you're running the next segment. I'm running this 30-minute leg. You're running the next 30-minute leg. I don't have a lot of experience with that, so it's hard for me to say like that's a bad way to do it. But I like having it out there. I really like that they have built that into what is going to be a generation of new players' introduction to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, so like taking turns as the DM might not be the best way to run a campaign, right? But it is a really good way to learn how to play D&D. So having a starter set that's designed to do that, where different DMs can run different parts of this adventure, is a really great way to teach people how to play, and everybody gets to take a turn being DM. And one of the things I've read, Ryan, you can confirm this because you actually have your hands on it. There are actual wilderness encounters. There are specific wilderness encounters. And there's actual encounters at the keep. The original module didn't have those. Like the original module, from what I remember, just said there's lizard folk over here in the swamp. And there's bandits over here on the side of the road. but there were no like specific encounters for those things, where this actually spells out specific encounters and adds encounters that were not in the original, both on the road and in the keep.
Absolutely, and they're good. There's way more to it than B2, and they're good. I just want more, and like that's my bugaboo that I've been doing. Like, get my stuff on DM's Guild. It'll fix it. I've been addressing this problem for years now. But yes, there are encounters, there are NPCs. I wish they were a little less modular, but I think that's a feature, not a bug. Because the idea is someone's running the keep, someone's running the wilderness, someone's running the caves, or someone's running this cave, and the person sitting next to them is running the next cave. So there is a cost to that. I think you lose a lot of that narrative through line and the ability to tell a more linear story, but those things emerge through play. Like we were talking before we went live, like no one is analyzing Monopoly this way or Clue this way, right? Like this is an invitation to board gamers in a lot of ways. No one's like, what's my motivation to move these 6 spaces when I rolled a d6 and sorry or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think Professor Plum would be engaged in this murder investigation. I think Professor Plum would be more concerned for his own life and try to leave the mansion.
Guys, we should just call the cops. Like, there's a murderer on the loose. We got to get out of this house. Right? Like, oh, okay. I guess the game is over then. Like, this is just something that, and honestly, I think dungeon masters think about. I don't even think players are usually here. Once in a while, they'll arrive at it. They'll role play themselves into a corner, and you have to like address that outside of the game. But yeah, it's maybe not as big of a problem as it seems when you're thinking abstractly about this for a lot of your day.
Right. You sit down to play a game of Clue. The social contract is we're going to solve the murder, right? You know, you sit down to play Monopoly. The social contract is I'm going to try to win the game, and I'm going to be a dick about it because I'm going to try to get as much money as possible because this game is based on capitalism, right?
Capitalism.
When you play D&D, there's a social contract that we are going to engage in an adventure. We're going to delve dungeons. Don't make a character that doesn't want to be an adventurer, right? That's just kind of a social contract that, because we often describe D&D as the game where you can do whatever you want, right? That opens the door for like this odd player character that doesn't want to risk his life, that doesn't want to be an adventurer. So sometimes it's fun to kind of play against type, but at the same time, ultimately the social contract is the DM has prepared this adventure. We're going to be players in it, right? So as a starter set, I think this is well designed to help you get rolling and actually do all the things that you need to do to learn how to run and play D&D. But yeah, so that's my pitch. Like 2 things: ask your players to make up a magic item. Not make up a magic item, but tell you what magic item that the character would want. You put that somewhere in the Caves of Chaos, and make up an NPC, and you put that NPC somewhere, plot hook connected to the Caves of Chaos, right? But if you want something more robust, but you like the idea of using players' backstories to create the narrative for this adventure, Ryan's got the perfect product for you.
I do. It would take more work on the dungeon master side, but it's there. Like this adventure has good bones, and you could take a lot of the prompts and plot hooks in the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. Go buy it. Give me money. It's a platinum bestseller. It's there, and you can do it. And I will say that the adventure is pretty generous with magic items. In the box, there's a card for every magic item. So you can literally hand somebody the deck, like, okay, which one of these do you really want? Interesting. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds or spoilers, but there are a couple NPCs in the caves that are underutilized or have a lot of potential to connect up with whatever stuff out of my book. or whatever the player has made up themselves. So it's the potential for it is there. I wish it was realized, but I understand why in this particular version of this particular product they're not doing that. And I'll say that a lot of the problems that Brad was just enumerating of like problematic player behaviors that they might not even realize are an issue, right? It just almost seems like intuitive that like your guy would go pay someone else to go like, I got 20 gold. My guy earns 3 copper a day. I'm rich. I'm out, right? Like I see how you get there. The person who's run the game never makes that character. A player who has been a dungeon master isn't going to do that. I hope they know better, right? Because they've had the experience of trying to run for that character and they know the problem from a much higher vantage point. So a starter set that puts everybody behind the dungeon master screen in their first D&D experience, check, please. Yes. I hope it's very successful. I think that could impact the hobby in a very good way.
Yeah. Well, we got to wrap up. We're
at
4:30. That's our hard out.
We out. I'm gonna write, ladies and gentlemen, write your congressman. We're gonna try to get Jim back. It's touch and go. I'm talking to my lawyer. I think maybe we might be streaming from a different location next time. But stay tuned. The Landlocked Warlocks are not going anywhere. They can't stop us. We love you all. Good night.